6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane, by to visit Glen Rock. Need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
Yeah, so we were just talking off cam about working in construction. How I was saying how construction, and you guys have talked to our mutual friend Jared Klickstein about this. He can confirm this. Like, it is prohibited to like do meth in construction. Like they say like don't do it, but like there's a wink, kind of like, well, if you got to be here at 5 a.m. and you didn't get off till 11 o'clock at night, like do whatever you got to do. That's kind of what they say. Like, we're turning the blind eye. That stuff doesn't stay in your blood or in your piss or blood for too long, like marijuana does. Oh, it does. Yeah, I think it's in.
I was going to ask, like, don't you have to do piss tests? But then again, I have heard of people in the trades, like the management would very strategically piss test. I'm sorry, pee test some people. That somebody they know will come up clean. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that from a lot of people who worked in the trades.
Yeah, you just don't want to get hurt. You just don't want. If you get hurt, you're gonna. They'll break. They have these on-site vehicles that come out and like pitch a literal tent and like make you take the sample right there. You know, but if there's other ones, the NFL is like this too. Like the NFL, not if you get hurt or something, but like the NFL, your performance-enhancing drug test is random, but your recreational drug test, if they even still do that, but when they did do that, they would say, "Oh, you gotta like in a month, you're gonna have a recreational drug test. Figure it out." And guys that would fail it, it's like, oh yeah, you got a problem, dude, because like I let you know that happened. And usually in construction, it's usually for like commercial sites, like if you got to go work at a commercial site or something that requires it. But like my company itself, like, is like, you know, don't get hurt. You know, that's basically what they tell you. But yeah, it's wild. Everybody romanticizes the trades, but I'm getting sick of it.
So I got in this big controversy once about this, because basically, we were talking about immigration, which I love to prattle on about. But one of the aspects of immigration is that and you can see this if you ever, you know, if you're at a stoplight, just take a gander at the bums. You at one time you could say, well, if you live in this place, that place, now there's bums everywhere now. So wherever you're at, if you're at a stoplight, just take a look at the bums. And one thing that you will see is that there is a certain section of the population who basically they need a beer or a joint before noon every day.
It's half our audience probably, but yeah.
And there's those people used to all be employed in construction.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess now we've introduced this good 2-tier system here between in construction and in the trades. Because they are different things. So like my only experience was in construction, and people are like, what would you do? Were you a carpenter, or are you a roofer? Or you drywall? And I kind of picked up garbage at on the construction site, and they're like, well, I don't get it. But that is like, I did it. I mean, that's a real thing. You're just a body. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so I was like, there's this certain sexual population that like they got to have a beer or a joint or something before noon every day, or maybe when they roll out of work. And those people used to be more or less, I mean, well, sometimes more, sometimes less. They were employed in construction. This is what we did in America with these people. There's all this stuff people say like, I'm not trying to get into spicy stuff, but there's all these stuff about people used to talk about all the Native Americans that would work on the tall buildings, and there were all these Irish people working in the business. And it's not just those people, that there's people like that of every kind of people. But these people were all in construction. Now that as soon as you start having this immigration stuff, all these people they're all homeless now, because you can't do that at Walmart. You can't do that. You can't do that at Best Buy. Mm-hmm. The only place you can do that is in construction. my best friend growing up, his dad, super Christian guy. He goes like 7 times a week. Every time the door's open, he's in there, and we would I'd hang out. Yeah, I just you're around people a lot. You're sort of more familiar with things than just like the conversations you have with coworkers, or whatever. And one of the things that was obvious is the guys that he would he had a crew. And this crew, and this guy, he would never touch anything. But the guys in his crew, they would they'd all have those 22. This is all different state by state, but here it was all these 22-ounce tall boys, Steel Reserve.
Oh yeah,
I know out west you guys got the Mickey's Big Mouth.
Yeah, and it's mostly Modelo because of immigration now.
Sure.
But,
and if you ever been to the gas station, I would see this all the time. I just never thought of anything. You just watch these guys go in. There's always a guy. It's always a guy. It's never like a big fat guy that can't get around. It's a guy on the move. He's in there, and they go and grab those singles. They're usually high up. Get those singles. Get the single bud. There's those singles 22s. What are they doing? It's a guy working construction.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you think, well, why would they tolerate this and there? It's like, well, I mean, you get up on the roof. You know what I mean? It's hard ass work, and so you just kind of get what you can get. It's kind of like that guy, this big Christian guy, whatever. He couldn't hire anybody that would go up on the high girders. Now, I guess when you combine that with what we know about his workers drinking and smoking, I guess that maybe that's a good thing. But even though he owned the company or whatever, he had to go up on the high scaffold or whatever. But anyways, all those people, well, they just don't have a place in our society. We used to have a place. Now we got fucking prison or on the side of the road. Yeah. I don't think that's great. These people, they're never going to be doctors and lawyers and stuff, but they had a place in our society at one point. And what I got in trouble for saying this before is I had people coming out of the woodworks that were like I'm a Finnish carpenter, in like New Hampshire or something. And they'd be like, are you saying that I'm like, no, I'm not saying anything about you, man. I'm not saying you're unprofessional. I'm not saying people that work in construction aren't this or aren't that. There's people that they're super highly skilled. Obviously, people you don't have to sell. People just kind of respect people that do stuff that like Finnish carpenters and shit like that. But when you're talking about the guys like whatever I did, picking up garbage. I mean, there's all this garbage. Everything has this like the thickest plastic wrap on it in the world, and just all this garbage everywhere, nails and all this bullshit, stuff like that, or heaven forbid on a roof. Yeah, I mean, well, it goes on, and it was fine. It was fine. I don't know. I just think that's a big part of the you can put these people in jail. You can put them on the side of the road, or you can have them in construction if you don't have immigration. But there's literally no other place for them. And I don't know if it's genetic component, but like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with these people? What are you going to do?
Yeah. And you'll hear it from a lot of people who work maybe in the office jobs or whatever, and they'll see that what you're talking about at the Shell Loop station or whatever, the real fancy Shell stations where they got all different kinds of beer, and they'll be grabbing beers and they'll be like, isn't it like 1 p.m. Like these guys, that's a lunchtime beer for these guys, and you'll hear them say, man, you really got to do that to like do your job, man, you got a problem. But I will say, drugs, or at least mind altering substances, have infiltrated the like spreadsheet world as well. People are doing microdosing mushrooms. People are doing on all sorts of pharmaceutical stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. It's like, hey, at the end of the day, this shit hurts when you do this stuff. And I'm not saying a tall can, is a absolute healing product, but it kind of is for a temporary. It's a Band-Aid, and some of these guys, it's a rough day. You're getting yelled at by your foreman all day. There's wind whipping in your face, sun on your back, and I mean, you watch the commercials. That's half the time anybody wants a damn beer is because they're sweating or getting yelled at by somebody. So that's what happens in construction.
It's hilarious because if that guy came home at night and he had that beer, 4 hours after work, we'd be like, oh, that's he's like an Italian. They come home and drink a half bottle of wine every day.
Yeah.
But having it before noon or whatever. it's got a certain kind of thing in culture. Yeah, and that is absolutely true about the office workers and stuff. It's funny that like I don't know if this is true. A lot of drugs, it seems like really the only thing they do is they just make you not bored of stuff that you should be bored by.
100%. Yeah, it's like what weed does.
Yeah.
I mean, weed will make a movie like, it's that whole like from the Half Baked movie. You ever see this thing on weed? Like it's like an enhancement product. Yeah.
I remember I've known people that are highly productive. Obviously, people like Joe Rogan is, I don't know, he's more popular than ever, but like people don't remember back in the day, he was like, he's like on news radio. He was doing the UFC fights. He had it at some point, he had stand up. He was doing that regularly. You going in and out the Chuckle Hut or whatever. And he had Fear Factor.
Yeah.
And I think I saw him talk about this one time, and he was lifted the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just and I guess there's a certain perception of population. There's no point in me trying to study it. It's obviously that's true for some people. I tried pot once, or not once, where I was like, okay, let's do this pot. I remember I smoked this weed, and then like 3 days later, I'm like, what have I been like? And I've just sort of been, I guess I've been bathing, but I've mostly been on a couch playing video games. It's just like my life, just somebody mashing that fast forward button, just boom. And obviously, people at work, they want to hit that fast forward button.
We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode. Exactly. We have the good old boys here today. It's been quite a while since we've spoken to you guys. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be just for a little bit on your guys' election night live stream. What a night that was. What a night that ended up becoming. That was really cool. Yeah, the good guys won for sure. And but I feel obligated to talk about the current genocide and give Bog a quick platform to talk about the ongoing genocide. I don't want to be a part of this at all. I don't want to enable it or anything, but the genocide against gamers, of course, is what I'm talking about. You just talked about video games there. Can you just real fast highlight what's going on to gamers?
Well, I mean, first off, I just say that anyone, there's a lot of questions or whatever about it. I welcome anyone to type in, ask these chat GPT, ask these AIs about the gamer genocide. It immediately started accusing me of things and saying, and I just say, start off the bat, like anyone that questions whether the gamer genocide is real or not is complicit in it.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's just a fact. And go ahead.
Go ahead. I was say if your listeners, viewers want to educate yourself about the gamer genocide, you should look at like some of the early visionaries, people like Roberta Williams, Richard Garriott, put down a lot of good stuff about what's happening, and just as relevant today as it was in the 80s. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, today, I don't feel safe self-identifying as a gamer much anymore because of the climate of violence and the genocide targeted us, literally just for existing. Well, I'll go ahead and spoil this. So, like, what is this? So, what am I doing here? So, when you go, there's this thing that the left does, and it's like almost, it's abusive almost, but. To get into to get into what and why, I'm like, let's not even, because that's not where this comes from. It was just like this. I just had this severe emotional reaction to seeing there's this just like super heavy handed, like, I don't know what manipulative, very feminine language that like Democrats, and they just use this shit all the time, right? And like to me, this is like very forward to be talking the way that they like, you're trying to kill me just for like they, they'll just say that, like just blurt it out. And there's all kinds of different variations of it. And it just drove me insane. There's especially one person on Twitter that would do this. And like, I just couldn't take it. So I had to find some way, because what was I going to do? Just yell at this person or something like that? No. And also, you can't, because it was all about safety. And anyway, so I was like, I had to find some way to cope with this. It's absolutely a cope, which was to take these insane things I was reading and change the words to gamer. And it just kind of worked. And it's kind of fantastic. I kept running with it and just started making up all this crazy bullshit. And I don't know. It just kind of it's almost like remember, that's where this comes from. But then you start reading the stuff that like the ACLU and the ADL and SPLC are like literally doing, and the things that people say. There's like, you could find like the heads of these major game studios. They're like, I hate all gamers and I wish they would die. And you're just like, maybe this is real? I don't know.
I want to give an example of one of these word substitution tweets, because it was one of my favorites. Vile and threatening text messages are being sent to young gamers, capital G, throughout the country, including on college campuses. We will not be intimidated by anyone.
I think you got to stand your ground. You got to stand your ground. I mean, as somebody who, I don't consider myself a real gamer, but I am gamer sympathetic. I only play really sports.
You're the gamer ally, yeah.
Yeah, well, I only play sports games, so it's. I feel like that's its own kind of separate thing. You know,
play 2K?
I'll play 2K. Yeah.
Did you play this year's 2K?
I did not. It's
worth it's dog ass.
It hasn't been worth buying the new ones in years. I feel like I play MLB The Show. The new NCAA college football is fantastic.
Really?
It's fantastic. I love it. That's great. For a while in video games, they were like, even Madden was touched by wokeness, because there was a while where you would like, you score a touchdown with a player, and that you can flick the control stick or whatever in a certain way to celebrate. And, a lot of times it's like pointing at the crowd, like, yeah, and then sometimes it's, maybe a dance or something. They let you do all the Colin Kaepernick celebrations. And like, if you didn't pick one, if you didn't press anything, like it would just go immediately to him on a knee with the fist in the air. And I'm like, my guy's white. I thought he shouldn't be allowed to do that. Like, it's like,
you can, in 2K, they have, they have clothes for your guy, whatever. You can have a t-shirt, and some of the t-shirts in there are BLM shirts, like one like I can't breathe and stuff like that. So like, there would be situations where you're playing in a one-on-one game against a guy wearing a can't breathe shirt, and you just like drop 21 to nothing. Well, anyway, sorry, continue, Bog Beef. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So there is a couple things. I mean, like first off, like and I definitely want to talk about the crunchy stuff, but like there's definitely gaming. It definitely had like, it's starting to be a part of this election, the politics process. You honestly have a ton of people that are massively involved in politics that probably wouldn't be if like there's no liberals. There's no way that they could like if there was a liberal hive mind that could like make decisions based on their like long-term success or whatever, they would just like let the games be whatever these young men want, so because they would just turn off and just watch the games, whatever. But instead, games it just becomes like this this real like we've been doing this series on the X-Files, and with a someone that's been in the TV industry. And one thing, like TV is a much smaller industry than video games. However, like TV is run by like serious professionals, like real like professional people. I mean, it is 100 times less woke than games. By the way, more importantly, it's 100 times like just more professional. There will be these like weird like just these small interpersonal situations or whatever that will end a gaming company makes billions of dollars. I think it's just because it's a younger industry or whatever. There's lots of guys that have no idea what to do around women and stuff. Like you don't have that, and these TV executives. We're pretty clear that these guys they do know how to talk to women. You know what I'm saying? But there's all that. But I just go through. Like, here's a quick one that's like it's just. So do you know the PogChamp face that used to be used on Twitch? It kind of leaked out to a larger meme or whatever.
I don't. Maybe perhaps I've seen it, but I don't know.
You ever heard people say poggers?
Yes.
Right. So Twitch started out as this other kind is like a just anyways, what they used to have just a couple of little emojis. One of them was this guy making like this crazy face. He was a pro gamer. He's half Mexican, half Japanese, California legend, Gutex. I've seen him at tournaments and stuff like that. Pro gamer for many years and stuff like that. He's always, he's done stuff on TV and things like that.
His face was the most important emoji, like in the people use on Twitch. It was so famous that it became a meme itself. If that is decipherable.
Yeah, like in terms of Zoomer, like speech or whatever, like a lot of this stuff is just old stuff or like comes from incel stuff. One of the only ones that was just brand new, just came out of nowhere, they'd say poggers, and that came from his. Anyways, so on January 6th, he was the very first one. He started tweeting. He said, "Will there be civil unrest for the woman who was executed inside the Capitol today, or will the MAGA martyr die in vain?" So this guy he looks Mexican basically. He's half Mexican, half Asian. And he just started talking about, this stuff. They banned him. They eradicated his face and everything from the internet. They went totally insane. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Ryan Gutierrez. He's a legend.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were on Twitch, I'm not sure you would be allowed to post that image. They might not care anymore, but there was a time that just saying that could get you in trouble because they memory hold this this guy doing a human soy face because he said something nice.
Yeah, and they turned that into the frog. They turned it into the frog doing that, right? That's where that came, or was the frog first?
Oh well, no. They made the frog
after him. Yeah, I thought he was. So he wasn't emulating the frog. He was. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm starting to think of. I used to play Street Fighter a lot. Played in tournaments and shit like that, and he was a legend from that. It's funny. You live in L.A., right?
No, I'm in Bay Area.
Okay, well, but all that all that shit, resides like California is basically the home base of everything there. Like there's an LA versus San Francisco beef, whatever. There's all these hallowed arcades. People, I don't know. I'd love to go there to see these arcades at some point. But anyways, but yeah, anyways, they eradicate him. And now you think about like all these major activists. Our vice president was a massive gamer. You had the guy who made Halo, the libs, so Halo was this big thing among like people. If you're like 38 to 45 or something, you played Halo when you were in your 20s or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's all burn our brain. The libs, they just couldn't leave it alone. So they made this Halo TV show where they made Master Chief like bisexual or something.
Oh yeah.
They had to do it. And because of that, the guy who he wrote the music, which I have this weird theory. I think the most important part of games is the music. Like all the games people they just go crazy for, they want to spend all this money on stuff. It's the games with the best music. Anyways, he wrote the music, he made the game. He turned him into a right-wing extremist. Now he's running it as a Republican out Arizona or something. In the United Kingdom, they have they actively sought out and to destroy the conservatives. There's a great thing they did. They had the worst political party, and they're the Tories, or whatever. They were like, even if we have to give the state over to the libs for a little bit, we cannot go on with this bullshit fake right wing anymore. And anyways, long story short, all this stuff was the guys running it are all guys who got their start complaining about these libtard video games or whatever. it's just it's another factor. It's a huge factor. There's all these different groups involved, but I mean, it's absolutely part of the situation now.
I mean, well, it as funny as it sounds, it is, because this is an emerging. It really is the kind of media, whether or not people acknowledge that it's a kind of media. It's like, yeah, obviously it's very important to get your hands in that, no matter what. That is how political advocacy functions in the 21st century. And then B, it's really popular with young men, and they don't like young men, so. No. Sabotaging their thing and ruining their thing out of spite, which like they'll very often just come out and say like, yeah, I'm glad you don't like this. Your person, you buy this product, I'm glad you hate it. And that's, if you're just trying to make money, that's a weird statement, but it's not. Right. Like, you understand, it's all based out of spite. So yeah, I mean, it's a joke, and it's also not a joke, because obviously people want to if you have a $1 billion industry that allows people to take a role that you can just straight up blast your propaganda at like a 13-year-old kid in his room with an Xbox. Well, that's gravy.
Well, you know, my wife, I'm married to a gamer. She likes to game. She's into like Skyrim and stuff like that. And she's also a big fan of the Harry Potter franchise, and they came out with a game. They came out with a game recently, which she really enjoyed. Some people may already know this, even if they played it or not, but in the latest Harry Potter game, and this is extra ironic given the creator of Harry Potter's outspoken stance against, you go to the bartender that serves you butter beer at this kind of wizard bar or something is transgender. And they outright say that the character is transgender and stuff, and they give it like some name that's like, you know, some lunar moon name or something, and then I mean, all to say this, it's like
at least JK, that part is accurate.
It's very no, it's extremely accurate.
Being named like Moon Dragon or something like that.
Yeah, Pleiades or something. Yeah, and no, there you have there. That part is accurate, but it was kind of like, this is the creator of Harry Potter is like maybe the most outspoken celebrity against gender identity.
Absolutely,
gender, you know, all that stuff. Like maybe the most outspoken person, like, and you know, she's got it great. We talk about her all the time. She's got it great. She just pours a glass of sherry and just quote tweets these people all day, and it is something to see. But you know, you guys, we were talking about a little bit of, I guess you would say, like, you know, basically telling your customers that you hate them in a sense. You're a diehard fans, and people, like you said, you see this in all forms of media. That is violating the patronage model in a sense. And do you think that Democrats lost like badly in this election? I know they tried to make all the delayed voting come in to just basically skew the popular vote thing for Trump or against Trump and all that. But we all know what happened. And do you guys think that Democrats just thought they had a bigger audience that bought into this stuff? Or I don't know. It seems kind of weird. Like it doesn't seem. It seemed like they shooed away the white male and even white woman and black male and Mexican male. I mean, like all those things, they kind of shoot away a lot of people that they thought were guaranteed to vote for them. Like I thought for a while they were doing the patronage model pretty well, or, you know, in the Clyburn, when you talk about the Clyburns and people like that and the old school Democrats, but this new stuff, it's like, wow, these people didn't respond to us saying we hate them, you know?
Yeah. Like definitely sort of, they still are quite strong in some local areas less so and stuff. So like I don't know, you could they still have, you know, certain cities tied up with these sort of strong patronage networks, blah blah blah. That stuff is sort of not as tightly integrated. There was a great story came out, the guy who runs the Philadelphia Democratic Party, you know, they asked him about, you know, what they kind of soft asked him, like, why didn't you guys, you know, cheat for more numbers and stuff like that? And he was like, well, no one from the Kamala campaign called me. And wow. That's one of the things you have to, like, you don't just do stuff now. But getting to the broader question, there's a lot of ways to take this. I think one of the ways I would take this is that something I've been thinking about. This just came up sort of organically. We were sort of after the election, sort of reminiscing, looking at the last couple of years. And I've sort of placed it. And it kind of surprised me when it was. But I mean, I've placed like the absolute peak of libtard power, and it was like you had to go back and roll back in your mind, like just how powerful and how oppressive these people felt. I mean, like, we've all, if you're still around and you're not on your 70th Twitter account, you've had to at some point be cognizant of the things that you can get away with and things you can't, things you need to. And, anyways, if you go find all the peak of just the most absurd, like, fuck you, we can do anything we want.
Right.
If you piss us off, we will destroy your life. We will make you famous. You'll never, all this kind of shit. That was July of 2022. And
21, 22, yeah.
That stuff is first off, I'm anonymous. Second off, I'm not a professional. Now there's sort of a two-step to this. If you're a professional, in the workplace or whatever, I mean, these people are very, very scared of the Democrats. This kind of thing has to be defanged. This, I think, obviously, Elon understands this. That he's got this he's starting up. He's got this foundation that will like defend you in court if they try to cancel you or whatever. Cancel, like, this cancellation stuff. What's the chance? Do you think about all these people that make games where, like, what is the chance that, like, a majority or even like a large plurality of all these people that are doing this coding and stuff are like strongly into social justice? It's very likely very small. What it is that they are just people want to be left alone, and you're in this professional environment. These people are terrifying, and you just want to get paid. You want to get your job. You just want to do your job, whatever. And I think that they're very scared of losing that. But anyways, I think that explains a lot of it.
Well, Side talks about this all the time. Like he's into like archaeology and stuff like that. And it's weird, right? Like you'll see the Flint Dibble went on Joe Rogan, and it was a big thing. It was a big kind of he's kind of the anti-Graham Hancock. There's kind of the advanced civilization versus the linear growth of Flint Dibble, and any sort of credit that anyone gets in the past needs to be done to like this exact indigenous group that didn't see gender or anything. And you'll go to these archaeologist bios on Twitter that are defending all of these people that are saying like, no, he's right. And they all have the same thing. It's pronouns, BLM, Green New Deal and all that stuff. And it's like, and then like Cy says this all the time, is there not just one Republican archaeologist? There's not one. Like there's not just one guy that comes out and is just like, yeah, I'm for small government.
Even if they agree with the mainstream theory, I'm like, why are you guys all of the pronouns and are all worried about Trump or what? It's just the archaeologists, they're the biggest midwits of the professional class I've found. And they're not that like a popular, no one really talks about them unless Graham Hancock makes a video or something. Right. So it is out of all the people I've encountered online, they're the biggest midwits because they think they're scientists, but they're not, and they like even the fakes, even like the real, like doctor or, a geneticist or whatever. There's a bunch of fake science, but at least they're doing real shit that could be kind of construed as some, they're running tests or they're doing stuff and whatever. Archaeologists, they're just making up stories, but they want to wear the mantle of science. It's really funny. It's a very funny dynamic. Yeah. And why are they all Democrats? I don't understand it. I do get it,
it could be funding purposes, I would guess, because you would think like because they're not finding anything. That's also what's happening. They're not finding shit. They're not excavating anything. Like it is a complete.
No, they're arguing for like desk jobs, and they're like, we should seal it up and wait 100 years. That's the party line and so the base, like the go back like Jimmy Corsetti and Graham Hancock. They're like, why the fuck is only 5% of Göbekli Tepe excavated? Like, shouldn't we get that up to maybe 30%, just maybe not 100, but 30%. And they're like, no, we need to wait 100 years. And they always come up with some bullshit excuse for, like, oh, we'll have better tech in the future and this and that. And we don't want to disrupt the process. And what's funny about that, I talk about this all the time, where they put up poles and tents, like permanent tents into the ground at Göbekli Tepe to cover it so that they turned it into a tourist attraction. And so they stopped excavating it. And in the process of installing the poles, they've made discoveries that were like just a few inches under the ground. and that completely changed the course of history, what we thought that place was. And they were literally just installing poles, and it was waiting there all along. It's so fake. It's crazy.
And it's like when you accidentally put a shovel in a lawn, you're like, damn, this guy's sprinkler's right below the fucking lawn.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
But it's I actually, to what we talked about at the beginning, these homeless people that used to, have shovels in their hands, go back Tepe. I bet you they get shit done. Tell you that much. But yeah,
Well,
I don't know. Go ahead, Maarek.
I was going to say, with regards to the election, they probably did know that she was going to lose, because you kind of got that.
Right.
You got that feeling from some of the people we were talking about the election beforehand. But B, I think because they got so much mileage out of the state of exception from bat flu in 2020, like Biden. However you, well, I guess on this platform you can actually say the truth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not live on Twitch or anything.
So it's possible that they did print ballots and it was completely fake, but it's also possible that they just did ballot harvesting, and they had all these special rules that allowed you to do things that really aren't how democracy was ever envisioned or intended to be enacted. And they did that, and they got Biden elected, and it wasn't a real election. If you threw Biden against Trump in a fair election in 2020, I don't know. Maybe Trump still loses, but that's definitely not what happened. So they got so much mileage out of this that they had no concept of what you would need to do to win another real election. And they threw up this lady, vomited up this candidate that nobody liked.
Say her name.
They said,
say her name. No, just kidding.
and they threw her up, and they didn't consider, well, does she have any support amongst our clients? Does the money actually like her? And I mean, you can say the seeds of this might have been planted all the way back in the Obama era, but the fact that all these Silicon Valley guys turned against them, that didn't have to happen. That was never an inevitable consequence. Like, that was a consequence of the choices they made, and they just forgot that as a politician, your job is not to just recite these platitudes. It is to keep certain people happy, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, the tech thing's interesting because the tech sector was really favorable for Dems for years, and the Dems kind of shit on them for like the better part of 8 years before people finally got fed up and were like, "Fuck this," It's like a black guy voting for Trump. They're like, "Nah, I'm done with Kamala," and shit. It's the same kind of dynamic.
Yeah, it's like the gamer. I mean, it's essentially a tech gamer kind of situation. Felt like kind of the same thing. You can only push somebody so far. Like, not everybody's submissive.
Nah.
Yeah.
And sorry, the tech industry, those bros are on like, they're doing testosterone herbs and shit now. They're not going to take the shit lying down. It's not 2006 anymore, bro. It's fucking, we're here, dude. We're here.
Whoever got Bezos on HGH changed the course of American history.
RFK's clearly on testosterone. Like he's taking tests. Like you see pivots from some of these guys. The T level stuff, I've never put a premium on T levels, but I can't say they don't matter.
It's like IQ, where if it's under 70, it really matters. But if it, what I mean, like NPR,
NPR host, audience, dude. We're trying to gain the audience. Don't get rid of the bottom.
Yeah, I know. Yes. Well, but it's like it's like the NPR sub 300 testosterone levels. If it's under 300, it really fucking matters. It's like like if you're difference between 600 and 1,000, you could be pretty alpha at 600. I contest, but
People made jokes about that. I know what you're referencing. Those guys who are like the try guys or whatever. They like all three of them had like sub 70-year-old man T, and like that. Yeah. That's a weird coincidence, right,
dude? Well, what's weird is how successful you can be. You can be raking in YouTube money. You could be at the peak of an industry with sub 300 testosterone. That's insane. That's great. That's like a weird world.
It's kind of alpha.
It is. No, it's kind of like, look at us, dude. Like we're not making try guy money. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Thought you were gonna say we had low T. I was like, yeah.
No, come on.
Yeah. Mine is just fine. Thank you. I could give some away if needed.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever watch Kino Casino?
No.
It's not super important. They're like they just they cover drama stuff anyways, or they'll watch videos and make fun of them and stuff. One of the guys they've always done this with is there's this guy who was like the king of there's these different parts of I didn't know this, but you learn this when you're watching these videos, and it's all very funny. There's this certain type of incel called the black pill, and like instead of taking the red pill, you take the black pill.
Yeah.
And the black pill means like it's over. You just shouldn't. I guess you're a sub 5 male. You don't have the right face. You're too short or whatever. It like
it's epistemologically over.
Yeah. And so he was like the king of these guys. He had all these videos, and they're just like, it's just so pathetic, and it's just all, and he's just wallowing in everything, and like it's like the most depressing stuff you've ever heard in your entire life. This was just kind of funny because it's just so extreme or whatever. Anyways, so this guy was the king of all of them. His name was DBDR, and suddenly, like, so he disappeared. He just disappeared, and this is a guy who like when he would put like he could post a video like every day and he would get like 60,000 plus views or whatever. That's enough to where like he could have definitely like that's a lot of money like that. Right. Like people definitely want to listen to you, but he disappeared, but he came back like a month or two ago, and he had a very interesting thing to say. So he came back and he said everything has changed. So he says well, I don't want to start where he started, but so he went to the doctor, right? So he got kicked out of the house. It was over. He was living in his car. It was just all over.
By his wife or his parents?
His parents, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no wife if you're
right. Understood.
And so he was, and I guess he was living in like around New York or whatever. That he was asking people where should he go that's cheap, whatever. So he go to Iowa. So he goes to Iowa, and somehow he ends up at the doctor, and the doctor tests his T levels, and he had 27 ng/DL.
Wow.
I think the normal is like 300 or something like that. Or like minimum? No, 300 is like an old man or something, right?
Yeah. So like, if you're, I think, yeah, if like 600, 700, 800 is really good. 1,000 is excellent. 300 is really bad. 27 is 20. Yeah. I think if it's the scale that I'm familiar with, but
yeah. Wow. Sorry. Yeah. I remember that because they were talking about like 300 is like you're like a very old man or something's really screwed up.
You're serving beer in Harry Potter world. Yeah. At that point.
Yeah. So
you're just consuming Ziploc bags at that point. That's just keeping it. Yeah. That's like
in CVS receipts. Yeah.
Yeah. So the doctor tested him for that, for this. And he diagnosed him with Klinefelter syndrome. And he put him on juice. And now, let's see. His anxiety is practically gone. Yeah. My mood swings are gone. I don't suffer from ED and zero sex drive anymore. He's quit YouTube. He has a girlfriend. He's got a girlfriend. He works in construction. And he's starting from zero. He got kicked out of the house. He had no money and stuff. So I think he said he was. I don't know, he's staying with a friend's house or some. Anyways, like he was like, yeah, it's just all everything in his life. Like it was, yeah. Obviously, you have no testosterone whatsoever. It's not.
Now this is interesting. No, this is interesting because I think that's alpha because I've thought this before. I've had periods in my life for sure where I've had very low T. I can feel it. But the thing is I think if you have low T and you hate that feeling, that is alpha because you're clawing your way back up. Like a Try Guy or NPR host, they're comfortable at 300. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas like some people are like, I cannot live like this. And I think that's hearkening to that. They just want to be the bigger man, they want to be, they want to be a real dude, and so I think, yeah, props to that dude. He knew something was wrong. Yeah.
How did nobody ever tell him, like, okay, I'm assuming that he was a young or youngish man, that like
He's
you
like
have
23, 24.
Right, you're 23 and you have ED and you have no sex drive. You need to go to the doctor right now. That's not like not even abnormal. That's like something seriously wrong with you. That you're not supposed to be that way. But nobody ever that's very strange. I wonder. I've asked this question before. I wonder how many like 20-year-old guys there are floating around the United States who have problems with ED, because like that would be that's a really weird thing.
Look at the commercials. Yeah. Well, see, does the weed actually do that? Because if you go to like some low income neighborhoods, it's all you smell, and there's people cranking out kids and fucking all the time. I've never like, I've always been like, is it just white guys that can't handle weed then? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. But that is a really great point. That like yeah, maybe you should be the black pill king. Like if you don't become the black pill king off 27 nanograms of testosterone, then you are truly libtard. You're just where you should be. No, you should feel like something is seriously wrong. It's over. Everything is screwed up. I'm sure that remember he's an incel, so it's not like he's gonna the ED is gonna come out the. More than likely, I'm guessing the doctor probably identified it by just seeing that he didn't have
as soon as he walked in.
Well, normal hair distribution is the only way that you could just see it. Like if you had no kind of mustache or a beard or anything, like 23, 24, doctor might start snooping around or whatever. But
or you could be Asian.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is Jalen Rose has I think he said he can like literally only grow the mustache and the goatee, and everything else is just
I think beard is it could be an indicator, could not. How many there are alphas with low facial hair and how many soy jack?
That's the problem.
With the beard. Whoa,
beard and tattoo guys have really been laundering low T behavior quite a bit in the populace. I've seen like guys with you know, Trader Joe's beard cream like beards and stuff, and you're like, all right, man, I understand you work at a cupcake store, you know, I get it. Like it's not, you know,
the beard products are out of control, dude.
They are out of control. Well, that's the thing. It's like if it's super hyper maintained, it's like I know that this is like the best part of you, like the part you wake up, you're like, my beard's got to be on point, because like that you're hiding the factor. I don't know. It's you know, it's tough to say, but I will say, you know, before we get onto our ratings here, I just you know, you guys complimented us on your program probably a couple weeks ago, right around the election, and described us as crunchy right, which I do like a lot. I think that's great. And that's kind of, you know, us four right now. That was kind of the like what the establishment feared, apparently, was just like our type, our type and your type hanging out, you know, and you know, COVID was a big thing in that, you know, and the fact is, I think I could speak for a lot of people right now. I think some people will push back on this, but when you look back at what happened with COVID, I mean, it was unspeakable how bad it was, but I don't know that the alliance ever happens if it isn't, you know, I don't know that there were a lot of people who were just anti-vax hippie people in California that just like couldn't ever even think of voting for somebody like Donald Trump or you know, but with him bringing Kennedy in definitely helped. But it was just kind of like COVID is one of those things where you could go one way or another after. Like we could have descended into like absolute hell, like forever after COVID. But I'm glad nature healed a little bit. Like I'm glad to know that like those copies of the you know, those millions and millions of copies sold of the real Anthony Fauci, like those people actually stuck like you know, whether they read it or not, they actually kept that energy in November and stuff. So but I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
I mean, on a personal level, it's no surprise that we get along. Like politically, there's no necessarily no reason that like West Coast guys and redneck guys would be on the same team, but that did happen. My view on bat flu is that it was like the biggest sorting mechanism that we've ever seen, and not just because of possibly literally how many people died from it, how many people died from complications of other things, but just how people reacted to it. Like there are a lot of people who were forced to take a medical treatment experiment that they didn't want, and that's awful. I don't blame them, but there were a lot of people who were complicit in trying to guilt the rest of us into doing it. And to go back to what Bog Beef was saying about 2022, there was a poll among Democrats in like 2021 or 22 where they were like, oh yeah, half of them believe they should take your children if you won't get vaccinated, and you should be evicted from society forever. And their behavior kind of showed me that I had always suspected that basically 25% of the population on both sides won't change. Like they're stuck in their ways. They're what people would call radicals, but the middle 50% just kind of go along with whatever. And if they're led in a direction that's dangerous to you, you need to watch out, because they would have physically held people down and gave them the shot if they had been able to do it. I mean, they were functionally able to do that in some countries, in some places in the United States. There were in certain cities where if you didn't have the COVID passport, you weren't going to be part of civil society anymore. You had to basically be a hermit. And hopefully there will be nothing that happens in our lifetimes again that will be as dramatic example of which side are you on as that. But we might live in exciting times.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad it ended up this way. And just the fact is, like, even amongst right-wing people, they were like, don't go too much the hippie route. You're going to lose the GOP stalwart people and stuff. And I'm like, honestly, like, people like JD Vance were young enough to understand that, like, there's a way to do a big tent thing. And the Democrats basically made the smallest tent, the Gobekli Tepe tent. They made the smallest one. They were like, this is just us, and you need to feel guilty enough to support this exclusive group that claims to be inclusive. But Trump actually ran an inclusive campaign where he reached out to everybody disaffected by the Democrat Party, who was pretty much everybody that wasn't Katanya Brown or whatever, the lady that was plagiarizing the Harvard stuff. Like that was the Democrats' core base. And
Claudine Gay, that was the court justice.
But those two people were their demographic, and I was kind of just like, that was so nice to see. And it was nice to know that, like, and there were people that were still scared to speak up and stuff, especially people that wanted to keep their normal things. But in the voting booth, it was quite an easy decision for a lot of people.
So, I mean, I was a pallbearer at a funeral at the height of bat flu, and I was literally the only person at the funeral not wearing a mask, and nobody said anything to me about it. Wow. It was like you could tell by the way some people looked at you. You could see like who cared and who didn't, and it was. I've never in my life felt that feeling before. It's like where everybody's paying attention to me, and like you're not part of the group in a bad way. Now that sounds weird. It's like that's the first time that ever happened, but it was. It was like usually I was very comfortable around people. Like they embraced the people who tried to foster that among like everybody in the country, everybody on the planet. That's the most evil thing you could possibly do. I'm so glad they got their comeuppance, but it was actually a really close run thing. Like you said, we could have had the bad ending. We could have had the outcome where they actually did take total control over everything like they wanted to.
So, where I got this from, and it's not exactly right, but, also this comes from 2006, kind of before. So anyways, Rod Dreher, who I don't really like, but he's one of these people that like,
he's a Catholic guy, right?
No, not anymore. He switched. He switched a couple times. He's on
Orthodox now, right?
He's on his third religion now.
Oh yeah. The George Harrison method.
Well, okay. At least George is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But he to contrast, I'm going to contrast him now with Yarvin, because both these guys were blogging in the mid 2000s, and both of them have this status where I don't like this guy. However, Rod Dreher has a huge amount of people that want to read what he writes, and that's just a fact. There's not many people, maybe like 10, 12 people that are like this. Like Rod Dreher is one. Go ahead.
Well, okay.
I mean, you can
this is-
fight this because this is
I
this
would,
is
I
just
wouldn't interrupt
scientifically
this
true.
except this is home cooking right here. Like he was employed by one of those magazines a while back, and he was employed because there was this one guy who paid like $100,000 to the magazine to be his patron. Quite literally, like the one guy. Like I can't get enough of what Rod Dreher writes. I'm giving you this money. Employ him as a columnist. And then Rod Dreher pissed that guy off, and he stopped giving him money, and he lost the job.
You can't piss that guy off.
Nonetheless, he's been on his own for like 15
Right.
years, and he's like,
Well, this was relatively recent, like five years ago. So
on his own website. This is just scientifically fact. I mean, there's a huge amount of people. I don't know who these people are, what they're like. They just want to read him, and you'll just never be able to talk. Like they got a place no matter what. Doesn't matter what Yarvin or Rod Dreher do. They've always got a place just because people do want to read what they write. I don't know why, but they do. And he's one of these people. Anyways, one of the things that he did is that in 2006 he wrote this book, and I guess part of it just came from being well placed or whatever, that you get these letters from these different kind of people, and he's describing something that is more specifically religious, although I know that this religious religious crunchy cons are definitely there. They might even be the bridge, and he's not talking about just like normal religious, talking about people that are like they've adopted hardcore Catholicism in their 30s, wherever. There is a lot of crunchy people like that, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I'm a Catholic that loves crunchy stuff. I mean, I wouldn't call myself hardcore religious, but I know of people, a lot of people that listen to the show, I think, honestly.
Yeah. So those people are definitely there, and his is more focused on that. However, more generally, he was talking, this is in 2006, and I think that this chicken didn't come home to roost until I really don't think until RFK came on board. I mean, the people on my timeline, I don't know any personally anymore, but just because I moved or whatever, I knew plenty of crunchy people when I was in Austin. But the crunchy people on my timeline and stuff, they were like people I considered very conservative, but they weren't interested in Trump until the RFK endorsement came in, and then they were all in. Then that was the big connection there. But anyways, in CrunchyCon, so he wrote this book 2006, and he's sort of detailing this sort of budding thing, and you can see first off the contrast. This is almost kind of like ancient lore, whatever. People don't remember the mid 2000s, the Republican Party of the 2000s. It was like you had like evangelical Christians, and then like these sleazy big business guys. It was the big business guys and evangelicals. That was it. And but anyways, and the CrunchyCon thing was just like a definite, like absolute they can't coexist. Well, here's what he sort of lays out is what he sees as like things that would make up CrunchyCon. He says that big business deserves as much skepticism as big government. Small, local, old in particular are almost always better than big, global, new, and abstract. Beauty is more important than efficiency. The relentlessness of media-driven pop culture deadens our senses to authentic truth, beauty, and wisdom. Mm-hmm. You think this is you sort of describing that? Obviously, this is a little bit different, but sort of the same thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And he absolutely starts out talking about local food co-op, organic vegetables, he's vegetarians, free range, homeschooling. He brings like there's even once again, but go back to the religious thing. There's like I don't know about you. I don't know how much I've had people contact me and talk to me about this. Orthodox Jews in New York City, and this comes up in CrunchyCon. So it also I don't know, they're very much into homeschooling. Yep. They were not they probably got into the most conflict with the city of New York City over COVID.
Yeah, vaccinations in general. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of thing. And I don't know. It's a modern, one of the things they said is modern conservatism has become too focused on money, power, and the accumulation of stuff, and insufficiently concerned with the content of our social character. But anyways, this kind of stuff. I don't know. I think this is it's a beautiful thing. It's fantastic. Obviously, when you look at these kind of stuff, I mean, how can you be if you're conservative, you have to worry about things like the family environment you grew up with, and that leads you into very, very obvious alliance with these kinds of principles.
Yeah, I just liked it because everybody just understood what was wrong, and it was just a bunch of people who do different things. There's people who, kind of hippie people who drift on the beach, or, people who wake up every morning with their lunch pail and pray all the time and stuff. They all kind of came to the thing. It was like, these 6 or 7 things are wrong with the world. And that just, to me, I was worried we wouldn't get that when you have COVID in 2021, when I just saw so many people acting completely strange, people that I thought would be rational, maybe not be as extreme as me, but just understand, like, really, you don't see this. And then also you're ushering in AI, mass censorship, and all of these things. And I was like, man, I wasn't sure we were going to get it back, but just seeing so many people at least identify. Was everybody the same on every issue? No, but just realizing, like, that's interesting. Even if whether you were hardcore against immigration or pro or some immigration or something, everybody had the same question. It's like, well, why 9 million during one regime when when we weren't in a good economic time, and during when you were worried about spreading a virus, right? Like, why did we bring in that many people? Like, a lot of people had that take, and whether they were hippies, whether they were just regular conservatives, whether they were just normies and stuff. And so that just, I feel so much better about the world right now. I'm not making any promises about what's going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of fighting that happens. I think there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get a lot of this stuff implemented, but I think the right guys are there to try.
Yeah. I there's one aspect of it that was kind of like a canary in the coal mine, that this was ripe. So if you think about things that kind of constitute an American, what are some things that are just like kind of immutable about America? Not like and I'm taking an observer view here, not like an idealistic thing or whatever. You can sort of take a couple things. So like I fight with libertarians all the time. However, I have to admit, Americans they have a libertarian streak to them. They just do.
Sure.
It's just there. Like, there will all, like, I'm just absolutely sure the Libertarian Party will always be kicking around forever in a way that, like, other parties won't, just because Americans are a bit that way. But there's another one. If you think about, like, what are things that are Americans weird about? What do we get weird about? One of the things that's kind of obvious, if you think about it, is like, there's one thing. If you put a tax on a ballot, people will vote no on the tax on everything except one thing, and that is state and federal parks.
Right. People
love the parks. If you put in, like, if you want to sell some newspapers, they'll put a story out that someone wants to fuck with the parks. They do that, people pull out the pitchforks, and I'm talking about conservative people.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, and this existed as kind of like we were doing this thing in the 2000s where it was like, oh, well, yeah, destroying the environment is cool. Like, they were trying to marry this with big trucks or shit like this. And it was like, it just didn't.
Drill. Yeah.
It just didn't fit. It was clear that, like, people weren't living. You don't want to eat this, Matt. You wanted vegetables out of your grandma's garden. You don't want the global stuff. And I don't know that aspect, it feels like it's drawing on. It's just absolutely genuine. You don't have to, when you think about the aspect of the parks, by the way, the people you meet at the parks, I don't know. You guys go to the parks all the time?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a sacred institution. It's one of the only things, by the way, that's open on, like, most, I understand most state parks, national parks, are open 365 days a year.
Unless there's a disaster happening or something, some kind of fire. The only thing I've ever seen it close in California for was for fires, and obviously there's a fire, so it makes sense. And most people ain't trying to go to a national park when a fire is going on. But you're right. Like, if you're any, Christmas, anything like that, you want to go to the park, you can go to the park.
Yeah, and it's like a weird religious thing. Like even the people that run the parks, I'm sure they don't want to be open on Christmas, but it's like you have to. The Americans live here; they'll kill you if you don't do that.
Yeah.
This is just super important. These people. So I don't know. I just feel like that was another carrying a coal mine that this would be successful.
Well, what's the connection between all these disparate groups of people? And it's hygiene, and in some sense, it's like, what are you putting into your body? I care about that. What do you eat? In other senses, it's like, well, physically, what's going on around you? Are people pooping on the street? Are they spitting? Are they littering? That's not good either. And then there's also moral hygiene, which I don't think I need to go any further with that. But the thing
we
is,
had a great conversation about that with vegetarians last time, if you remember.
right? But the thing is, okay, like, I don't know, progressive, like we'll say the radical wing of progressive thought, like the leading edge, which is always like everything always follows that historically, by the way. Like they have this war against the hygiene as a concept. Like there was a great example recently of that woman who
The PhD one.
her PhD dissertation about how things that stink are good actually, and you're a bigot if you don't like people who smell bad, and you'll like, I'm sure you could Google right now hot take about how like personal hygiene is actually
Racist,
fascist, whatever. There's always going to be a sorting method between people who care about that and people who don't. And if you care about hygiene in any sense, you have to be on the pro. I mean, I know this will upset probably some people won't like this word, but like the pro order side, you have to be. There's no way around it. Even if like there's things that you don't agree on, like for example, yesterday I had New York strip steak. It's pretty good. I know that a vegetarian wouldn't like that, but you know, that's a really minor distinction compared to, hey, do you think we should do something about people taking a dump? In the middle of the avenue. Those are minor complaints. But I would rhetorically ask, because like I'm definitely not a crunchy, like we do a podcast with Fredo, who is a crunchy guy.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
By the way, this N-word lives on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
Fredo is a crunchy guy.
Yeah.
I don't do all the things that he does to my detriment, but it's like, you know,
tell us how you buy eggs.
I get it from my neighbors.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crunchy, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I got that steak from my neighbors.
Pretty crunchy. You could start a lifestyle. You could start an Instagram lifestyle account right now, and guess who would follow you? The country.
I'm just saying.
Have you ever had raw milk?
Country crunchy is what.
No. Let me. When was the last time you had raw milk?
I've never had really raw milk.
Okay.
Never had actual raw milk.
All right.
I mean, that's you gotta live near somebody who does that.
You don't take your shoes off and ground and stuff like that. That is what you're saying. You're not doing stuff like that. You're not doing heavy metal detoxes and things.
Right. I mean, okay. I have stopped.
You do
I only cook.
You should do that, by the way.
I cook with olive oil, butter, lard. I don't cook with the seed oil stuff. But it's like
I don't know. You're not beating the crunchy allegation.
Like, you know, I'll eat the fast food seed oil hamburger though too.
When the grass is a little wet, no more. Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
What's the argument against that really? Like why do people, when people like get angry or make fun of the seed oil stuff, like why?
Yeah,
why
exactly.
do you care? Or the receipt thing, like thermal paper receipts, like that's not like trad or anything. Like that's happened in the last 20 years. Like who gives a shit? Why would you care if people don't want to touch those, if people don't want to eat food that is like objectively nastier than food people ate in the past? Like I don't understand what the counter argument for this was. Like, it's gonna be more expensive? Well, to me that's okay, because I do prefer to spend a little bit more money for better things. But you know, can anybody like give a hypothetical answer? Like, what's the argument against this?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so this goes back. So like, we have this weird version, like hippie, and I talked about this. And we don't have to talk about. I talked about some more extreme stuff to do with hippie later after that part of the episode. I don't know if you guys heard that part.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But basically, like the idea of hippie as being left it never really made it never should have been. It never really that didn't really fit because like if you're talking about like the essence, because the essence of leftism is it's sort of like at their highest ideal, what they want to do. Like the idea is basically to it's industrialism in one sense. I'm not saying that like industry is bad or whatever, but their highest ideal is basically to turn the world into a factory, or everything is just these machines they run and they spit out the food capsules, and we're on what was it, universal fixed income or whatever. Anyways, it like communism, this has to do somewhat with what the time communism came about. It's like if you ask a communist like why should you be a communist, they will tell you about all the things that the ways that China or Russia changed due to industrialization. They'll be like, we stopped doing this sort of local stuff, and we built these huge ass factories. Couple maybe some people died or whatever, but whatever. Everything with this factory thing. I've heard, my theory basically is that I've heard interviews with these leftists in the 60s that said like they intentionally sort of adopted the hippie thing because because communists had this reputation of being like the most boring people. They were like these spreadsheet boring people. Everyone, they're like the book club. Yep. You think about people like Lenin and all the like or Central Committee in Russia or whatever. They're like, these people have no fun whatsoever. So that's one theory or whatever. Why they sort of adopted the hippie thing was never going to stay with them, because the idea of like you'd have things that are particular or things that are local, like why that's not as efficient. That would just anyways, that is my like. So you say, well, I want this good steak, I want this local grown steak or whatever. Like, who are you? I mean, why? We could pack more sardines in here if you didn't do that,
I'll buy meat and stuff from the food line. I'll eat a Papa John's pizza. It's like, I'm not above doing that. But like, why would you get mad at people for I don't understand any possible opposition to that. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, now, to me, what do we lose?
And let me tack on the other thing is that like globalism is just like, that's just inherent. Like it, like one of the, like if you ask a communist, like, what do they not like about Stalin? Like ideologically, they will say like, the problem with Stalin is that, Stalin said, we're going to do socialism here in Russia. Because like, you're not even allowed to say, you're supposed to say, we have to conquer the entire world. Because you can't have one country. These people are living better than those people. This kind of thing. Like globalism is just like it's baked in the cake. Like the only person that could do it in got away with it because he killed a zillion people, whatever. Mm-hmm. Generally, you're like if you're a communist in Cuba, whatever, you have to say, yeah, one day we're going to take over the entire world. Like it's like implicit. Like you have to do this, and so and obviously crunchy is just like the opposite of globalism. I mean,
Yeah, well, you had there are two different types of like hippies people. There are the collective hippies, people that value the collective, which is honestly, this is kind of a trajectory for one hippie, as you start as one and become the other. If you make it out and don't have a crippling drug addiction or something, is, you start out with the collective. Oh, it's me and 10 people living at this one house. Kind of similar to what you see in like Portland with like the Antifa stuff, but a little cooler, honestly. Is people like the movie Inherent Vice or something, like just these people kind of spread out and everybody's doing everything, and then after a while you realize you don't want to live with 10 people anymore because you're grown up and don't want to do that, so you become kind of more not off the grid, but kind of like self-sustaining. That's like the final form of like being a hippie, which is that's where like them and the Chuds line up, is like where you can like, both of you guys could live in a cabin in the woods. One of you might smoke weed inside and the other one might drink beer and smoke Marlboros. Like that's just the two different things to that. They might eat some of the same food. One
inside of you are two wolves.
Yeah, exactly. And well,
that's such a great Yeah, a great sifter, because think about it. If you were, whoever's listening, think about this. If you made $1 billion tomorrow, like where would you want to live? Like, yeah, I would want to buy up a lot of land. I would want to buy up the entire county and be the only person living there. Some people say, like, I would move to Manhattan and live in a condo.
Penthouse. Yeah,
Different
penthouse
kinds of people. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Yeah, exactly. So you have that, like that. Those are the people that lined up. Now the other ones, the ones that are still excited about being in the collective, that want to, oh, together we'll do this. They are the ones that are like 40 years old, that are communists on the internet, that are like doing the things that we all don't like to see. Those are the people.
Yeah, just two other quick things. So one thing is interesting, based on the alliances that are being made. Some of you might see as weird, or whatever. Hippies, it started in Germany as explicitly Nietzschean.
Nice.
I don't know if it started
Rudolf
early enough
Steiner.
for him to like literally be there.
Oh, is that Rudolf Steiner? Is that kind of like Rudolf?
I think
Steiner?
kind of he's wrapped up in that a little bit. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, like
that.
it was supposed to be, they were protesting against essentially industrialization. It was explicitly Nietzschean, like they were like saying that from the beginning. But the other thing that is sort of interesting, and sort of leads into you were talking about the different connections, whatever, with CrunchyCon, is that, well, if you think about like pretty extreme crunchy stuff, which would be like living on a collective farm, whatever, like you were talking about. Well, I don't know if you said that, but I'll go a step further, where let's say living in a collective, or those kinds of things.
Recycling your pee like Kevin Costner in Waterworld.
Yeah. Hey,
you're in good health. That's
might do some urine therapy while you're at it. Yeah, that's
the coffee, getting the coffee blaster up the Easter.
Yeah.
But, but the like, from what I understand, the only successful like, if you want to live collectively, from what I understand, literally the only places that has ever been successful long term, I think it's really only one place. It's the kibbutz in Israel, whatever. But it's basically, it's only successful with some religion tossed in. And I'm not saying that's ideal. I don't want to do that. I think most people don't want to do that. But like, literally, I don't know. It's just saying they're wild religion stuff. In other words, it's around. Like, you should just, even if you're not that, you should just sort of get used to it, that you're gonna meet people that go to the Latin Mass or something like that.
Absolutely.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that red candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, can't do shit.
Well, let's get to our ratings here real fast. I'm real excited.
Yeah.
I'm real excited to do this. Now, we had a couple choices, and then our Discord, we told we were recording with you guys, and I imagine these are some of listeners in the middle of our Venn diagram that have known kind of both of our styles and want their ratings on here. But let's start with the biggest one, probably the second biggest name in the United States right now, and also works directly with the first, the largest name in the world, Elon Musk. We're going to rate him alpha or beta. Now, I will kick it off to Sai first.
Yeah, I've kind of been I've been more and more impressed by him lately. You got to understand, when I was never a big anti-Elon guy, like, even when I was more of a leftist, and I never fell for any of that shit. But I'd read articles about he'd break up with a girl and like cry for 3 weeks in his office, and then his assistant would have to try and pry him out of his office. And there's all these things about Elon that it's like, oh, he works 20 hours a day, but then he's tweeting all the time, and then he's able to sit in his office
and plays
after a
Diablo,
breakup
and plays Diablo at the rate that
he
does.
and is one of the best in the world, apparently. So something's not adding. I'm not a hater, but I'm like, something's adding. But then I don't know, obviously over the last couple of years, I think he's redeemed himself a little bit. And yeah, I mean, the free speech thing alone, a lot of people, and again, all our haters think, obviously they think we're falling for that it's fake free speech, and that it's a Trojan horse and stuff. And I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, if you remember what Twitter was like
the
before,
other side wasn't pretending to give you free speech.
I know exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's so
they actively told you weren't getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you become more alpha as you get older and you give up your gay ideology that brought you there, that is cool. You know, that is kind of, you know, so I'm a little pro Elon lately. I think he's dabbling in the alpha realm, you know, and I think, yeah, you know, I fuck with it a little more. I'm cautious, you know, I'm if he doesn't put a chip in my brain, we're good. You know, it's kind of,
that's
one of those things. Yeah.
Pretty good caveat. Bog, what about you?
Well, this kind of gets into the, you know, I do fuck with alpha, beta, and gamma or sigma. I don't know gamma yet, but however, I don't like. There are some guys that do think it is real. Now, I don't think it's real, like on the level of animals, where
That makes you a sigma, by the way.
It does.
And what I mean in terms of like like an animals, they know when alpha's there and they're like, okay, that's the guy. That's the guy. I just, humans work a little bit different, because first off, we'll just say why he's definitely alpha in the human scale. He's got 12 kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the things that make him alpha, mostly this is kind of relative to other people in his position. He's the most impulsive person with that much that is like, you know, above $100 million, whatever. There's like a interview with like Teal where he's talking about him. And he's like, yeah, Elon's fucking crazy. He's like, you know, when it comes to these like wild like business ventures or something, like, you know, most of these business guys are like, oh, I need to see how this is going to do this and do that. Elon's so crazy. If he gets a wild hair up his ass, he just does it. He just makes these huge crazy moves. So yeah, I mean, I think he's absolutely alpha.
Okay. Maarek, what about you?
You just got to check off the boxes. Okay, the kind of Reddity transhuman stuff, that's gay. Electric cars, that's gay.
Yep.
Oh, but on the other hand, he just went to war with the people who run the country, and he won. He was one of the few people in his position willing to speak out against transsexual stuff.
Yep.
That's another win. Rockets are cool. Having 12 kids, cool. Top of the Diablo ladder, you know, owns like 15 different companies. Yeah, that's alpha. I think there's not really any question about it.
Yeah.
Fucking like when you talk shit back to like the ADL, which he does freely, I don't think literally anybody else until he did. Like if you're Peter Thiel or you're the whatever, the guy in Omaha, whatever, like you might feel that like if the ADL said some shit about you, you just like, well, you know, I don't see like there's a cost benefit analysis. Like if I just want to speak freely about these people that are slandering me, I know, fuck the ADL.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say beta, and I'm probably the person who likes him the least. I had the closest proximity. His factory is his original Tesla factory is not far from me. I have been watching his horrible fucking cars drive around for a lot longer than anybody else has. They're pieces of shit. I hate they're too high tech. I saw a police chase where a guy rented a Tesla and stole something from somebody. It was pretty crazy. I don't know why you do that, but he did it, and it was a police chase on YouTube. And the cops just called the Tesla headquarters and they shut his shit down mid-drive. and it was, I was like, that kind of stuff. It's like, look, the tech will be created by somebody, and at least it's somebody I think that maybe values free speech for the moment. I think he's kind of impulsive, and I could see him swinging the other way at some point. And he's kind of the modern day Howard Hughes, if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
That's a great. Yeah.
You know, he kind of reminds me of him. I mean, obviously Howard Hughes like spiraled out of control and went crazy, but that could still happen with Elon.
Also, a simp for attractive celebrity women.
Yeah,
there you go.
But no, okay, so those are my beta qualities with Elon Musk. Neuralink too, I'm a little scared of that. I don't know that we need to do this. I don't think we need mRNA to treat cancer when you see all these rapid cancers rising in young people who took the mRNA therapy. That seems kind of dumb. I don't really like that. But then you have, okay, let's talk about the good stuff. Siding with Donald Trump. He has great foresight. Obviously, he sees that was the way to go. Free speech being threatened. People talk about his dumb posting he does, but he thinks he's being transgressive and would hate to give up posting. So he would love to. He's got to side with the right side for that to be
natural poster alpha. Yeah,
he is a natural poster. So then, yes, you talk about the kids, right? He had lots of kids with lots of women. The one woman that he didn't have kids with was the woman he should not have had kids with. He picked the right one. That was Amber Heard. Amber Heard's been having like the weird, like not surrogate, but the one like in vitro. Or what's the one where you just get pregnant by yourself, kind of?
The turkey baster.
Yeah, she's been doing that and then climbing in her little trapdoor spider lair and just giving birth. Like that's like what she's been doing. And he was right. That's a great choice right there. The other one too is I really like Starlink a lot. That's like my favorite tech that he's done. I saw a Cybertruck, which I'm not a fan of, but I saw there's a lot of people are buying those things in California.
There's one here, and the guy has a giant Bitcoin logo on the side of it. No shit. It's amazing.
Did you see the guy with the Marvel wrap where you pour the water on it and like the Marvel? It's like you have to pour hot water on the car to see it. So like only the people at the car wash are gonna see your shit, I guess. But like there's that. But the Starlink, I saw a guy with a Starlink modem on his Cybertruck coming out of the back of it. Which I thought was kind of interesting. Not something I need in my cars, but Starlink is good for people who live in the woods, like these off the grid hippie things. Yeah, you're not off the grid. That's true. Maybe you'll never be off the grid. Like that's kind of the downside of it. But I know a lot of people who maybe just would like to be on the grid, but also live a little bit remote. And like our buddy Kelby Losak from Agitator, like he talks about having Starlink. He's like, that's the best internet you can get out here. And, you look at what the Democrats did, taking $49 billion, or, the Democrat government, they're saying they were going to do their version of like internet for all, kind of the Obama phone internet, essentially. They were going to do that. There was $49 billion dedicated to it. Nothing's happened. Where's the money?
Crazy.
I don't know. I don't know.
How's that train coming?
So, yeah, he's capitalizing on everything right now. He's very smart. He's Howard Hughes to me. So that's just the way it is.
Elon at his worst, when I when I get really annoyed with him, and when he hasn't done this for a while, is when he's pumping and dumping doggy and shit like that. That kind of stuff. Maybe he's rich enough now where he doesn't do that anymore. I mean, he used to do that a little bit more, and that was I don't know.
Yeah, the I guess the other thing with him too is this Doge, DOGE, the government spending thing. What do you guys think of that?
Oh, it's well. I mean, this is going to be like really the ultimate test of
he might become like Pantheon Alpha if it works the way we want it to, right?
I'm kind of a tribute, like when you're just like you don't know how something will work. I'm just kind of like, maybe the less I think about this, I'll just cross my fingers to figure out this guy. He comes up with an innovative solution, or whatever. I think forcing the DC bureaucrats back into the office. Not that I just want them all in the office, but like I don't want them living off the government, and I want a bloodbath in DC. I don't want people to get hurt, but I want people to be fired, mass retired, like crazy. And that's going to, like, the biggest thing about that is going to be anyone should just watch the Mark Andreessen interview with Rogan, where they talked about the work from home arrangements with the federal bureaucrats, whatever. And he said, well, he's going to make them all go back to the office. I don't know how you're going to do that. I mean, these people are going to raise unholy hell, but I mean that as far as like this isn't right. As far as like going back to Nick Land and Curtis Yarvin or whatever, like the completing the system of German what was
idealism.
That? German idealism would be that, basically. It'd be like, okay, you guys have to go back to the office forever. That would be I have no idea how you do that, but I mean it's very promising.
Very simple answer to this. If their plan is to actually like trim the fat and make the government function more efficiently, then it means nothing. It won't change anything. If his plan is we're going to increase government efficiency by replacing the people who work in the government with people who are on our side, then yeah, it would be huge. Like that's it. If this is a plan to go into enemy territory and burn everything that belongs to them and take over whatever's left over for you, then yeah, it's a good move. If it's just a matter of we're going to squeeze out a couple more dollars from the same people, then it means nothing.
Well, I mean, he has laid that out. He's talked about, how much money goes to the, I mean, so he's
all right. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't add a name earlier. I do have a name to add if we have time for them.
We will have time. Yes, absolutely. The second big one is, you guys can get as far as I don't know anything about this guy, and I'm bringing it up because I think you guys might be able to tell me the real story, or an abridged version for time's sake, I guess. Abraham Lincoln is my submission.
Beta.
Okay.
Beta.
But he's on the penny, Maarek.
The cheapest fucking coin out of all of them. The most worth. It's actually worth less than the copper or whatever they make it from.
I don't pick them up when
What's
they fall
the Lincoln
down.
thing?
Yeah.
I asked about this because
I asked
my
it
dad
because-
was like my dad was the opposite of a libtard. Like Glenn knows, like complete opposite. And he was a huge Lincoln guy. He was almost like in a metaphysical way. And no, like for real, he was like into. I think they shared some dates or maybe birthday.
Oh, I
but
thought you meant he was like meeting him in like universes or something.
I mean, maybe, dude. Honestly, the way. And so anyway, like I was never one way or the other. And then I see a lot of the dissident guys going like, nope, he's gay, and I'm just kind of like, okay, what's that egg?
Yeah,
all about,
I have no rating. I only know the party line. So please, guys.
Let's start from the beginning when
hang on. First off, Maarek, I mean, we have to if you guys stay tuned, we'll definitely talk about this, but Maarek, we have to record this tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
So don't give away if you guys are doing a thing on Lincoln. Yeah, but just quick preview so people want more.
Yeah.
Okay. Chronically depressed, possibly gay, big temperance guy.
Yeah.
Stupid little, the prototypical lib. He was one of the biggest early lib politicians. He was part of the first lib adjacent party, and he was the founder of the Republican Party, which was at that time the Lib Party. I guess since I have to say something nice, since it's a checklist, very big guy, tall guy. He liked to wrestle. Other than that, no, huge. Everything that's bad about American government today, like you can trace it back to Abraham Lincoln.
Was he like an Obama of the 1800s?
Well, I mean,
actually, a really good analogy. Yeah.
Because the speeches, everybody thinks about speeches, and then obviously slavery, right? Those are the two things when people attribute Lincoln is like the speeches and slavery.
The one aspect, I mean, we'll be going.
I mean, on a personal level, my family was doing really well before Abraham Lincoln was president, and then right after he was mercifully shot in the head by heroic patriot John Wilkes Booth, not so much. So yeah, like when you like the question mark about like, well, I see people online who hate Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, I mean because he burned like our entire valley down, and yeah, it was rough times.
Well, what we'll be talking about tomorrow, and I think a lot of people find this surprising, and the sources that we'll be drawing from is that in the ways that he's like a lot like George W. Bush.
Interesting.
and this comes from like, I mean, just this doesn't come from cranks or anything. This comes from one NYU professor I really like, who's written books with Susan Rice and stuff. He's not a crank or whatever, and he's got this great argument. We'll be detailing going through it tomorrow, where he says basically Lincoln was put in the same place as most presidents who have started really destructive wars. He was unpopular. He was facing losing power, and so he started a war. And the story being a lot more like Iraq than these kind of big sweeping holy stuff that we hear about. People have to wait, but we'll be recording that tomorrow.
He waged the war against his own country, like and you can't even lay that at Bush's feet.
So he's Joe Biden then, because he started the Ukraine proxy war, and then January 6th, basically. The January 6th prosecutions and stuff like that.
The promo that Biden cut in front of the Red White House, where he said he could do all this stuff to us. Like, just imagine that, but it actually happened, and that's Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, bad president. Beta.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea. Out here, dude, everyone's just like Abraham Lincoln's like the only cool guy, from the South or something. He's not even from the South, right? He's from Illinois.
Yeah, his parents were from the South, but
literally every major war that American president has entered us into, they were unpopular. They were facing they were facing losing power, or they were just sort of losing power in by say the Senate or the House or judges or things like that. And the war was unpopular, and this includes World War I, this includes World War II, Vietnam, everything. And war is it's the ultimate asshole. And break glass. I don't want to let go.
To his credit, unlike Bush, unlike Woodrow Wilson, unlike FDR and other people like him, like Lincoln. It was pretty obvious. If you vote for me and I win, there's going to be a civil war, and that like it wasn't really a mystery about what was going to happen. Like it wasn't like a bait and switch thing. Everybody knew what they were getting into. Sorry, but anyway, yes.
In other words, to take power, he got us in a war.
Yeah, which is not an alpha way to take power, right? That's
well. Listen to what Trump says.
True.
No wars under Trump.
Yeah, no, for sure, exactly.
Big Hat Man bad beta.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, yeah, maybe he is Hat Man, the actual dimensional demon Hat Man. So Bog, what was? It's a DMT. If you take DMT, a lot of people have seen the same demon named Hat Man, and it's just a guy in a hat.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has seen him.
Okay, well there you go, Bog Beef. Another thing for us to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Big Hat Man is literally a demon.
There's got to be a schizo thread somewhere. Is Hat Man Abraham Lincoln? It's got to be. No, I'll tell you. If you look up Hat Man, like people like it's kind of like it's not a creepypasta thing. Like it's a real. Like people, anybody who takes this, like there's a lot of people that just see this like weird kind of like almost like Fed like 1950s like CIA person like in a hat, but it could be a top hat, could be that. Bog, what was your contribution to our subject for Alpha Beta rankings?
The only thing I'm wondering is I wonder if I didn't bring it up last time, because the person I could think of that would be the most interesting to do, I'm sure hasn't changed. It would of course be Dennis Rodman.
Oh, Alpha. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Oh, dude, the man. I mean, first off, like his style. Watch what the NBA is now. Dennis Rodman wouldn't be allowed to play. NBA is gay now, and Dennis Rodman isn't. Mm-hmm. So Dennis Rodman wore a wedding dress, and nobody ever wanted to get near him on a basketball court. He is, he did the hair. He did all like non-binary barista tricks with his body, but still looked scary. And he was. If you look at his numbers, I think he went to Southwest Oklahoma State, if I'm not mistaken. That's a school where nobody, they might have had peach baskets. Like
he started out, he went from working in an airport to JUCO ball.
And then he went, and then I think he had to go to he didn't even transfer to like a major program. He went to like Southwest. I think it's Southwest Oklahoma State.
Yeah, started in North Central Texas and then transferred to Southeastern Oklahoma State. So yeah, that's like, I mean, like you'd almost think some of those places had like peach baskets or milk crates as baskets. You had to retrieve the ball for like these playing small time college basketball back then, and he was just setting rebound record. And he finally, he goes to these two teams that he was a winner. That's what he doesn't get a lot of credit for. You're talking about Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls, San Antonio Spurs, right? Those are the three big teams that he won with. Am I getting any of those wrong? I think those are the three, but he was an important part of all of those. Then I always liked the fact that there was a guy named Fred Hoiberg on the Bulls, and he would tell the stories. This guy was on the roster who wasn't really that good, but he was kind of a straight-laced guy, and they would just have him follow around Dennis Rodman at parties, kind of. And they would say, people would make jokes at him. It was to make sure he put a condom on. Or to make sure there was penicillin in his smoothie the next morning. It was like that was. I mean, the guy is. I mean, he's a monster. Then we're not even talking about his North Korea stuff. Amazing.
Yeah, perhaps the greatest diplomat. I asked because that was the one that I just don't know. By the way, I mean, one of the reasons why it bothered me. So, my life was basketball. Growing up, wherever I was. Captain of my high school team, junior, everything, and he was literally my favorite player to like. I would I'd record his games and try to mirror my game after him. I mean, he was you certainly would say he was the most skilled or whatever, but in terms of definitely what I could do and stuff, I mean, he was the best player in the NBA to me. He's definitely I guess he's underrated. He's got he must be first. He's still got to be a Hall of Fame like first ticket or whatever. But people don't know. By the way, when he was on the Pistons, the Bulls were out in the first round to those Pistons.
Oh yeah, Jordan rules. The Jordan rules. Jordan hit the weight room because of Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, and all the rest of the gang.
he was he had that sort of Barkley thing. I think he was a better player than Barkley, but in terms of like just really good.
You think he was a better player than Charles Barkley?
Well, if you
Is that a joke? Yeah, of course he was.
Dennis Rodman is not a better basketball player than Charles Barkley.
If you took 4 average players and Charles Barkley versus 4 average players and Dennis Rodman, no. But if you put Rodman on a team with team with 4 other very good players, the thing that makes Rodman so valuable on a team like the Bulls or like the Pistons is that he doesn't need the ball. And there's only one ball. This is the problem with super teams. Like why they always fail. These super teams would win if they were replace one of these guys who is an all-star like a Barkley or what was the last super team was like
the Warriors with but they had a Draymond Green. That was the reason they actually Draymond Green, they could put him on their big man or a shooting guard and he would give them hell for a whole game. You get a technical, you get in their face and torture them. So like every super team needed a guy who doesn't give a shit about the ball. Only reason I bring that up about Charles Barkley is after a while, if Charles Barkley is the best player on your team, you're going to the playoffs. If Dennis Rodman is the best scorer on your team, you're not going anywhere.
I guess you make a good point because if we're talking about basketball as it's played today, yeah, definitely Barkley. Like
Barkley was badass though. I mean, he was just like he was really good. Especially his like Sixers and days and the Suns. He just didn't win. He got there a lot, but it's just he didn't win.
I'm saying that it's hard. It's a lot harder to have a guy. You can't really have a guy now that you have to hide with regards to scoring.
Yeah, agreed.
So like in that way, yeah, you're right, Barkley. Yeah,
but like if you took Rodman out of that Bulls roster and you put in Barkley, they would have been worse.
I think
I believe that, but it is a marginal point though. That however, if you took a small market team and put Barkley on it and have they don't really get much better. I mean, the whole he serves a certain.
They
role
melt down earlier too because Barkley will want the ball and like it'll be a Jordan Barkley fighting each other in the media kind of thing. That it wouldn't have lasted as long. I'll give you that. Rodman fits as a puzzle piece better in a team than Charles Barkley ever did. He's a better team player, I think, is what we agree. I guess individually is where I have the thing, but that's not even the point. Dennis Rodman's alpha.
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, he put in an insane amount of effort on the court. Yeah, he got in trouble for not putting in insane effort in practice, but nobody ever questioned his motor, which is not something you can say for some of the other big guys at the time period, like guys like Shaq. And to some extent, Barkley didn't do a great job conditioning himself.
Like
nobody can say that about Rodman. Yeah, he's got to be out, and he's banging out supermodels. Our greatest statesman of the 21st century. Yeah, alpha for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. Oh man, he's great. I just wonder if he's ever available for like a podcast, dude. I would love to talk to Dennis Rodman.
I hope he's off the booze.
Yeah, he wasn't looking so hot last time I seen him, but it's guy was a rock star. Guy was a legit NBA rock star. Okay. Let's see. We had some submissions from Discord. If whether not everybody's been prepped on this, so that's totally fine. But we'll just go through them real fast. Couple country artists right here. Now the first one is Steve Earle. Take it away, guys. Beta. Okay.
I've met him before. I was his waiter.
Really?
Oh, what was he like?
What did he order?
A tuna melt beta.
Oh yeah.
No, he was cool.
Rip.
He was cool. I mean, he was cool, but I could see him being a beta. But
dude, you can't have Trump derangement and be a country singer. You just can't. Like,
I figured he was.
Oh yeah,
right. A big TDS guy. Yeah,
he's hardcore TDS. His music is tight though. His music speaks for itself.
And he's a novelist. He writes weird books about like the ghost of
Abraham Lincoln.
No, of the ghost of like the old rockabilly guys, or who's the big the
Buddy Holly?
Yeah, like Buddy Holly, kind of like the ghost of Buddy Holly or something.
Okay, that's kind of based.
Yeah, I want to read one of his novels for sure.
Guitar Town is an awesome album. I'm just gonna say that much. Word. That's all. I don't know a lot about him. I just know he has hardcore Trump derangement. But I'll kick it to the
What is he like? What specific is he, like a Stephen King Twitter guy, or
I don't know that.
He's been super left wing, and like whatever the different thing of the moment is. But anyways, there's a version of him there's a guy named Robert Earl Keen, who I'm pretty sure is a leftist. He's got like a degree in English from the University of Texas. He lives in Austin and shit, but I like him, but he just doesn't talk about politics.
Nice.
That's all you gotta do. Because to quote a philosopher, Michael Jordan, Republicans buy
sneakers too, but Republicans buy sneakers too, which he never actually said, but that's okay. Yeah, he's right though. I mean, Republicans do buy sneakers too, regardless. But yeah, it's just, to me, we're grading on a different scale. Like I'll say, if like a rock musician, just a regular rock musician, has Trump derangement, it's like, all right, it doesn't really tank your stock that much because it's rock. You got grungy fans, you got people who are like into punk and like masked up at the Antifa gathering and stuff, and you have these people. But like with country, it's like, especially with the next artist, like you're like, man, like that. It doesn't come out in his music to me with Stephen Earle. That's why I'm not gonna be like hardcore beta, but he's definitely on that side of the spectrum.
Also, feel bad for the dude who lost his very talented son to drugs, and a couple years ago after I met him. I mean, that's fucked up. His son is like really pretty talented dude.
You also have Willie Nelson, who Willie Nelson is he definitely gets. First off, Willie Nelson is my favorite guitar player of all time, and I mean he
does he shred?
He's unbelievable, but it's more about the way that he plays. He just had no one in the world plays like Willie Nelson. And by the way, he does shred, and he's almost 100, and he still does the solos and stuff. I saw BB King when he was like 90 something, and they just kind of. He couldn't play anymore. I mean, it's just very obvious.
Willie Nelson, dude, the diabetes got him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Willie Nelson is my favorite guitar player. People don't know him of him as a guitar player. They think about him just as a singer songwriter. Willie Nelson is just amazing on guitar. But anyways, and he knows how to play it. I mean, he doesn't rub it in your face or whatever. The other example is, of course, I basically forgive her. They basically beat her down over decades. And Dolly's
great. Yeah, Dolly's great. Dolly is the corporate office of Dolly Parton. That's just what she is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Dolly Parton, it's like TDS is fine, but don't like give $1 million to Pfizer to fund a vaccine trial. Dude, that's like a whole other level.
That was a bit much. But yeah, I can't speak ill of her. I just can't. Like I love like pretty much all of her music. Like she's fantastic. So I can't really I can't hate that hard. But yeah, there's other guy. I mean, like I think Neil Young's one of my favorite guitar players, and like I think Neil Young fucking shreds. He's one of the worst libtards of all time, and it just sucks. But
except for that brief time after 9/11, like there's like that singular moment, right?
Well, he's crunchy. He was crunchy. He didn't go. He went the collective route. He went the collective communist.
Oh,
and
okay,
I had high hopes for him because of he was very out. He would go like on Colbert, which is a rat's nest, and be like, "Yeah, Monsanto's gay," and everyone would be like, "What?" And like so he was like,
"Hunger, Neil."
Yeah, I know. And so I fuck with him for that, and then COVID didn't happen, and the Joe Rogan thing happened. I'm like, dude, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny with super libtard celebrities when they have when there's like a certain subject that they're like ultra orthodox about that is like and it's just such obviously a conservative thing. There's a guy there's the most popular by far wrestling podcaster is this guy Jim Cornette or whatever.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And he I thought of him because he falls in this category because he is super. He's like incredibly Southern. How his dad owned a newspaper and stuff, so he was kind of born to be a liberal, or whatever. But like whenever the topic of wrestling comes up, he's just an arch conservative. Like he's like, things shouldn't have changed from the way they did it. And there's no way for him to not sound like he's, like a fascist about this one subject that he's absolutely loves or whatever. And anyways, you see that a lot, and you see that with Neil Young about guitar equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I love that Trump thing of him, Neil Young, telling him about his famous keyboard. He's like, "Yeah, I met Neil Young, and Neil Young was trying to show me this really cool keyboard." I said, "Neil, how much does this cost to make?" And I was just like, "What a time that Neil, if that is even true, I have no idea, but I could see it. Okay, so the next one, this is another country artist. He's from my neck of the woods, Merle Haggard.
Mm.
Well, of course. Merle Haggard is alpha. He can't not be.
Even the immigration song about how Mexicans, immigrants make the world better. No.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We were talking about
Outlaw Country itself is beta.
Right,
That's
I fuck
the
with that
issue.
though. Yeah.
But Merle, I can't hate Merle Haggard. Can't do it.
No, I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, I don't hate him. It's just, is he alpha, right? I mean, I did this. First off, he's an Okie. I know that those people sometimes in country circles, sometimes, he's an Okie. Like that's a different kind of thing. I'm not the biggest expert in country music, but he's from, I forget the place. It's like Oil something, California. It's like I've been there once, like been through there once, like for a job, and it is like somebody that looks like Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood mixed with like a current meth addict. That's like the average demographic, and that's where Merle Haggard's from in California. It is just oil rigs everywhere. I love him, but like it is funny though when you hear a song and it's got like a slide guitar and it sounds like a really nice, cozy, like old school country song, and he's talking about like illegal, like he's making his like anti-illegal or pro-illegal immigration song, and I'm like, that's such a weird thing to like turn on when you hear the radio, and it again, the song's kind of good, it's catchy, but
what is that, like a new thing, or is that a?
No, he's dead. I mean, this
when,
is from
when did that come out? Though?
I'll find the album right now. It was in like 1980, I think.
That's a big like I think 80s having that take and 2024 is very different though. I think
The Immigrant, and it's from 1978 on from the album I'm Always on a Mountain When I Fall.
I'm sure those guys all thought it was like a great idea. Like if I grew up in that time period, like, oh yeah, what could it possibly hurt when they're like the country's like 5% people who weren't born in America. Like, what's the harm? Well,
dude had like a one bite of guacamole. He's like, yo, get these people here, dude. He's like, come on, dude. What the fuck have we been missing? Yeah.
Politics was somewhat different back then too. By the way, I mean, all these Southern, everyone in the South voted Democrat. By the way, the South voted for Jimmy Carter.
True.
Things were different. Everybody was kind of had to be a hippie in the 70s. Like you can you can like the one that were like you're like, come on, dude.
Didn't.
Well, let me give an example. So like it was very, 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 by the way, most of our parents, even if you live in the South, but even, I don't know about you, but my dad was wearing a leisure suit, and everybody had long hair, which just a few years earlier that marked you as a huge liberal or whatever. It was just the thing you had to do. The person who looks most ridiculous is Johnny Cash at the height of this kind of thing. He's doing it. He has to do it like everybody else, and he just looks so ridiculous doing it. You're like, what are you doing, man? Like, put on a cowboy hat and like, what do you stop that? But like, this was at a height of a certain time, and politics was, like I said, it was just different back then.
No. It's true. Yeah, it's true. It wasn't we weren't like in 1978. You didn't know what like globalization really was going to be or anything.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't like Kamala Harris border policies. It was like it wasn't like 10 million people in a year. Bullshit.
Exactly.
This could be its own thing. So I won't go into it too far, but just to say, like the whole hippie thing is just history being rewritten. People who lived during the time didn't feel the same way about hippies that people do today. Like the view of the hippies is like the founding fathers of America. That really wasn't how it was. People hated the average person despised hippies. They were quite literally happy when the hippies got shot at Kent State. Like they did like, I think it was Newsweek did a poll and 80% were like, yeah, I'm glad she got more of them. Like so history was rewritten because those people won, and they're in charge of. They were in charge of everything. So like, people loved them. This is conquered the world. Blah blah. That's all bullshit. No, like hippies were the libtards of their era, but they won. So when you control pedagogy, you control people's perception of the past.
Okay, I'll just put it like this. In 1974, a lot of people looked like hippies. Maybe they weren't hippies, but they
Leonard Skinner fans, it's fucking
everyone like lots and lots. The net was much broader than just like people dropping acid. In
Allman Brothers concert, you'll see guys that look like hippies.
Yeah. So like I understand like maybe these people maybe they didn't self-identify. Maybe this was just like a thing of just like some of the fashion stuff drawing out or whatever. We have like by the way, disco was music for like gay men's clubs or wherever. However, when you look back at the photos from the 80s, a lot of people look kind of disco, you know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
And they were burning disco records in Yankee Stadium or whatever. So
Chicago White Sox disco demolition night.
Yeah, so whatever that is, I'm guessing
My mom had a disco sucks t-shirt.
Damn.
With bell bottoms on.
How dare you?
On the farm. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so my mom's clothes was handmade by like her and her mother and stuff, and she still had bell bottoms.
Well, that's really based.
They didn't know. Although, by the way, I live in a pretty small town. She went and I looked this up. They did play. She went to see Led Zeppelin when she was like,
Dude, my mother-in-law saw Led Zeppelin. I'm like, you guys just like saw Led Zeppelin? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's insane. And they're they talk about it like it's just like, yeah, it was good. And you're like, I would be like, that's the best moment of my life. What are you talking about?
We need like. I don't know, tickets for bands they're huge now. It's just like thousands of dollars. You can only go see them in the biggest markets, whatever. I don't know. That is insane.
Yeah, my dad was my parents went to a lot of concerts. They still have like the tickets archived. It's really cool. And my parents went to a lot of concerts. My dad in 1980, he went within like months. He went to the Blizzard of Oz tour and the Heaven and Hell tour. Black Sabbath, Ozzy had left Sabbath. Yeah, and he was just like, yeah, it was cool. It was good. I was like, what do you mean that's the coolest thing I've ever heard? Like, what are you talking about? And they had a day where they were like, they went to a San Francisco Giants game because someone gave them tickets, but then they realized that night they had Pink Floyd tickets like later, and they went across the bridge. They're like, well, we have to do both. And it's like, yeah, you would kick yourself if you didn't. Like, it was just, take me back. Like I to a time I didn't live in really. Like I was just, it's
when I was a kid, my dad had this, like, it was I don't know if it was originally an album cover, but it was like a poster of that Ozzy Osbourne cover where he's like a dragon or whatever, and there's a naked woman on it. And
the ultimate sin.
I don't remember. I just remember I would go in the basement. I would just stare at that like it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It was like kind of a glimpse into a world that no longer existed.
No, that's awesome.
I love Ozzy.
He's alpha.
I love Ozzy.
Alpha.
One of the greatest singers ever.
No, we brought up probably my two favorite rock vocalists of all time is Robert Plant and Ozzy Osbourne. I just feel like those are two of my favorites. Like,
can I ask a question? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
Can I ask? Yeah. So the DMT thing and people seeing like Abraham Lincoln and the machine elves.
Yeah. You're looking to expand your mind, bro.
Well, I was like, I've heard people talk, like Rogan's talked about the machine elves. You guys are like West Coast crunchy guys. Do you have a theory about what this is?
Sai is perfectly equipped to answer the question.
It's an open question. I think that it gets into the heart of that, like the asymptote of reality, right? Where it breaks down subjective and objective reality. My favorite thing about all this is I talk about this a lot, and for some reason I always bring it up on. I don't go on too many other shows. I more rarely than Glenn does at least, but every time I have to talk about the
I show up to the opening of an envolve apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But well, you're just better at this than me too. But what am I saying? The Mantis aliens thing is the one for me where DMT, it's very common to see on DMT super advanced 9-10 foot tall mantis aliens that are basically the apex predator, or not even a predator, but apex of the universe in terms of advanced consciousness and technology and psychic functioning. And then there's people that never do drugs, like, an orphan in Brazil or something that gets abducted by these same aliens. And they're not really, they're not really bad. They're not evil, but they're not quite benign either. It's kind of this weird edge case. So why, when you do a very powerful psychedelic drug, do you see the same thing that people completely sober see? That's a clue. If you're a scientist, that's a piece of evidence, right? That something's going on there. So I think my hottest take is we are literally ruled on a universal scale by mantis aliens because because there's multiple lines of evidence that point to these things are real. But yeah, the Hat Man thing is funny because look, man, we're a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. Love NFL football, and also I love psychedelics and psychedelic lore. But that dude's doing ayahuasca, and he's just seeing ghosts on the field and throwing up pigs. He's over it. It's over for Aaron Rodgers, you know. And
He sees Hatman.
he sees Hatman in the it's like a Tampa. It's like a Tampa 3 or like a Tampa 2. I mean, like he covered. So yeah,
he's asking for a 12-man on the field flag, and the ref's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "No,
exactly." Yeah, he's like, "No, it's that guy." Oh, and
I think he went on that darkness retreat, which was where you just shelter, yourself in darkness for a long time. He saw some shit, dude. He's not the same. He's not the same. I don't know. I just
what's your view, Glenn?
Didn't Ricky Williams do acid and he thought he turned into glass of orange juice and he got knocked over? I made up the other part, but Ricky Williams did do drugs and sort of lost it for
he did,
so.
he did, and he still is he sells luxury cannabis now, and I'm like, dude, Ricky, it really fucked up your career, man. Like you just you were the fucking people don't remember how
he was
Ricky
so
Williams.
good, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my, Mike Ditka traded 4 drafts for him. To get him, even when Mike Ditka was coaching the Saints, it was incredible. But I'm sorry, somebody was going to ask. I thought I said something.
Yeah, I want to know what you think about these things. Do you think it's just? What do you think?
There's some. I'm a correlation does equal causation thing. That's my contribution to Project 2025. Is that correlation does equal causation now? Because people are seeing again. You're talking about people with complex. We're not all the same. We all thinking about different stuff. We all have experienced different stuff in life. But if you're taking the same, the point of DMT is not to just see Hatman. That you see, there's other stuff that I've never done that. I've never done it, so I can't speak to. I've never done actual DMT. I've done mushrooms and acid before, but not that stuff. And those aren't nearly the same thing. And with DMT though, if everybody's reporting seeing either, mantis aliens, clockwork elves, or in some cases this mysterious hat figure, and I don't know. I to me, I don't wish to go to that dimension very often. I kind of like this one as the older I get, but I believe these people. I'm a serial believer of people that have gone through that kind of stuff. Because I've had my own trips where I'm if I explain it to somebody, that people are just dude, come on. I'm nah, you guys got to realize, I'm not saying I physically saw something. I just know I'm being shown, just a door opening to something. And it's not for everybody. And that's why you see these women that are doing PhDs on people smelling bad, but they'll go to South America and lick a toad and die or something. You're yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. It's not for everybody, but it's for some people. For
Dude,
sure.
the toad. I want to try I want to.
But don't play professional sports and do it. Retire, then do that. Aaron Rodgers should have retired before doing all this shit.
100%. Yeah, it gets messy. Psychedelics are really messy. They're very fun. Yeah. It's just I do wonder, why do we all see similar stuff? And I do think back to the crunchy thing. A big ayahuasca message to most people that take it is you're on a living organism called Mother Earth, and we need to be in harmony with it, and that's, it's shit, I'm down,
good old boys fans. I promise we're cool. Listen to us.
This reminds me of all these sort of disparate peoples in disparate unconnected peoples in the before times that all saw dragons.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
No, you're right. That's
Rogan.
what I mean. That's a Rogan that everyone goes, oh, he's a dragon believer and all that stuff. I'm dude, mythology in general, it's you have to wonder, right? Even go back to biblical times, you have to wonder. You know what I mean? And I'm a person who believes in the Bible. I'm not. This is not to besmirch anything, but it's there's certain, burning bush kind of stuff. It's there's certain things where you're okay, if that happened as we know it, and if that's not just an allegorical tale. And I tend to think that it happened, especially a lot of Old Testament stuff. But maybe it's a vision, maybe it's a vision that still is a true story and all that stuff. But you got to think about it. And right now we're techno-cucked right now, and it's pretty tough to be enlightened in a techno-cuck kind of culture, whether you like the tech or not. It's if you're an alien if you're an alien that wants to visit somewhere, are you going to go to the place with all the lights and the factories? Probably not. You're going to go to the rural, the woodsy areas and stuff. Yeah.
Well, Revelation is almost described like an acid trip almost in terms of he's just seeing this stuff. I mean, he's not in a place. He's seeing these crazy visions or whatever. And it's, The one that hits so hard these days is the mark of the beast, or whatever. Because like every government, of course, they would want to do that. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So Sai, I've asked this question to people before because it's interesting because there's usually like a consistent answer. Like it's like two questions. The first is like, do you believe in aliens, and then do you believe in ghosts? Because I found that people, which one or both?
Oh, do I? Yeah, I'm for sure. I think there's a lot of alien stuff going on, and I think there's I think there's sorry, I'm retarded. I think a lot of it is happening coming down the pike, so to speak. Like I think we might even get in this century some kind of disclosure or something. Maybe.
But your idea of disclosure, I don't know if you've debuted this before. You've said it like in chats or something, but like correct me if I'm wrong here. Your idea of a soft disclosure is everyone consciously realizing something rather than a guy with a manila envelope.
Yeah.
Or like a press briefing telling you about disclosure.
Yeah, I think there's ways. I think they have quote unquote technologies to do, and I do think there is. I think there's a big bad guy versus good guy alien thing. The Greys, or do we live on prison planet? Where our souls are trapped here, like some Scientology. Yeah, exactly. And I think there probably are some bad dudes, but I think generally it's just like a big family with cousins that want to see us progress, and we'll help them and they'll help us, kind of thing. And so I think like a soft disclosure thing would everyone would have the same dream one night, and then we realize like, oh, something's going on here, but it's not as scary as landing on the White House lawn kind of thing, that classic trope. Ghosts, I don't know. My mom for sure said she saw a ghost, like a full-fledged one, when she was younger. I've never really experienced anything of that sort. I think there might be I think I'm not a disbeliever whatsoever. I think the explanations might be a little bit more mundane. Like we might just live in like tape loop universe where certain locations have these weird.
I'm sorry, that's the mundane explanation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where it's like, if you hear voices or things fall, it might just be like a little imprint on the versus that it's actually some super demonic thing.
Oh, so you think somebody else is living like their life? It's kind of like just overlapping, like
like some Philip K. Dick kind of thing or something.
Valis situation.
Yeah, exactly. That might be the thing because
like
the thing
double exposure.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly,
gotcha.
exactly.
That's good. Yes. Wow. Crazy. Just two more guys. So thanks for your time. Real fast. Johnny Cash. We already talked outlaw country. Johnny Cash for me is hardcore alpha. I love Johnny Cash. Love everything about him. I don't really have much to say. He's awesome. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
Yeah, he's the man. He's a fucking man. That picture in front of the church is like one of my favorite pictures.
Wait, who is it? Sorry,
Johnny Cash.
Oh, Johnny Cash.
Yeah, alpha. I mean, to me, Texas Roadhouse founder Wayne Kent Taylor. That is a submission for people.
I don't know anything about him.
Well, he committed suicide after reportedly getting tetanus from long COVID. Apparently, I personally think he got vax injured, but that's just me. I don't know. I haven't heard of anyone getting tetanus.
Like lockjaw.
I guess, yeah. I just like it sounds like a weird. That sounds like more of a vax reaction to me.
I've heard of tinnitus. Is it?
Oh yeah. No, you're right. Tinnitus. What's the one you got to get the shot for? Or
tetanus. Tetanus is the one you usually get the shot for.
I've
heard people getting tinnitus after.
That's a deep fear of mine, having some crazy like ringing ears or some weird physical manifestation.
Bad construction injury.
Yeah. So bad that it makes you want to kill yourself. Like I'd literally.
That might be it then. That might be it. Let me just make sure, because I looked at this earlier today. Let me just make sure, because
and if it is tinnitus, that's for sure a vaccine thing. That's a common vaccine injury.
Tinnitus.
Okay.
Tinnitus, right? So we have that. Tinnitus.
Yeah. So he took the jab and then he got tinnitus, and
but NPR says it was COVID related, post-COVID related symptoms. Okay. So
you gotta do the NPR translation.
So but then he killed himself after that, which that's again sad. It is sad. Now I'm not gonna call the guy beta or anything, but like Texas Roadhouse, I will say Texas Roadhouse, their food is like it's kind of like Outback Steakhouse for like Texas for us in California and stuff. Like,
Is that like the peanuts on the floor, honey butter kind of vibe? The fucking
no, they just have really sweet rolls that they bring that are
Okay.
like it's just it's kind of like a place where people in California that are really fat pretend that they're not Southern fat, and they're like, I would never eat this normally, and like they go they go eat that, but it's like, yeah, you do eat that normally. It's just like from a food truck and costs way more. And then but people go there. But it's funny, like you see people post plates from Texas Roadhouse, and they all look like the same like never kill yourself meme. Like it's always just like a really regular ass steak, regular potato. I mean, it's fine. I've gone. It's fun. It's fine. You know, it's good. I gotta give the guy alpha. I mean, it's a good business, but yeah, it's just that's sad that he killed himself. I mean, it seemed like he had everything go. He was involved until his death, like in Texas Roadhouse. Like he was like really a guy there. So yeah, I guess that would. I don't know if there's a way to rate that, but the last one, someone wants Maarek's take on it, and I think they think this is going to start an argument. David Bowie.
I don't. I mean, it wasn't his whole thing that he didn't want to be alpha, right? Like the glam stuff.
Well, he went through like 50 phases. I mean, like, you know, by the time he was like in the 80s, he was wearing like a suit and like dancing around and doing like, you know, Ronald Reagan decadent like music, basically.
You know,
like,
if these terms were actually real, like he would be like a honest to goodness Sigma. Like you couldn't really put him in a category.
I
so
agree.
like I don't think like I would normally say like you can't be a Sigma. That's just cope. But like I think if you're famous for being really weird and popular, then yeah, he's a Sigma. That's it.
He is based though. If you look at his favorite books of all time, like he reads like Camille Paglia and Nietzsche and stuff. Like he's like a really smart dude and stuff. And he went through the classic like 70s rock phase where you like drink your own piss, like worship Aleister Crowley, and then also like
throw Roman salutes.
Yeah,
love
Hitler, get caught smuggling Nazi memorabilia across country lines, you know, things like that. That's what like people don't realize. Like a lot of rock people, that was like a thing in the 70s that people did, was just like have Nazi memorabilia. I don't know why, they just did. But he anyways, him and Prince, I believe, are the only actual Sigma males, and I know it's a hot take for a lot of people because they think it's a bigger but I think if you look at those guys, they were just completely like, Prince is like Minnesota's Bruce Wayne, where he just stayed in like a mansion the whole time and was like really smart and had a lot of cool gadgets. And Bowie was a lot more of a social person, but he was really like, he felt like an alien. Like if you hear him speak, he's like really well spoken and stuff, but it feels like man, this is a strange guy. He's probably got one of my favorite music catalogs ever. I'm a huge fan. So I think they thought you were gonna hate him because he was like androgynous or something. But that's rock. That's rock. I mean, that's rock. That was rock. Yeah.
Pick your poison. Do you guys like having a Discord?
I do. Yeah. Our Discord's really cool. It used to. It has its moments. Like we had a guy that used to rate like the hottest like K-pop girls and stuff, and like he would do that at like 2 a.m. West Coast time, so we'd all wake up and then by like 11 a.m. they would all be deleted. Like he woke up hungover and be like, oh
yeah, he was an alcoholic, and he was a beta.
And he was a smart dude. I'm not even trying to like shame him, but like he was a smart dude. Like he was a smart guy, but he was going through some things. But it would just, that process would be really funny. Like you'd wake up in the morning. It wasn't bad. I wasn't like fed stuff or anything. Like it was just like, it would just be really funny. But like we had some people that would like be like bad actors in there. But like right now it's great. I mean, I love
our Discord. I'm always tempted to get off all internet except for our Discord, you know, in terms of like social media and shit.
Yeah.
Are you guys up in that thing? Come on, dude. What the fuck?
I don't think they are. You guys are more than welcome, but yeah. And also it's not an open invite, guys. You got to hit me up. You got to get in. Like if I know you and you can get vetted in, because it's
velvet rope, dude.
I used to just post the link and people would come in, and that was bad. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's probably why people's Discords are so bad when you hear about the stuff like happening. Like you gotta have the velvet rope. You gotta have a bouncer.
Yeah.
Two things. Number one, so anyone that singer, mostly in a band, but we'll just normally with a band, there's like, so what you'll see is that the singer is always like literally like top 5 or bottom 5, I don't know how you want to put it, percent like feminine male.
Sure.
Why is that? Well, it's because it's the voice. It's the thing is like you like, if you want to hit the high notes, you just can't be an average male in terms of testosterone and male development or whatever. you kind of need the fancy boy to be the singer. You just kind of have to if you want him to hit the high notes. Now, obviously, someone like Johnny Cash is not like that, but Johnny Cash, if you see him, like there's whenever he's covering other people's songs, most of the time he will have someone, he'll have someone else there that sings the high parts because he just literally can't.
Female backup singer, classic.
Yeah. Also, when Majestic began probing the spacecraft covered at Roswell, it was nicknamed the Bucket. What they hoped is it might provide a shortcut to discovering the nature of anti-gravity. You see, since the alien vehicle could accelerate, float, and turn at right angles without any visible means of propulsion, they believed it had some kind of a gravity engine. But when they went to look for the engine or whatever, so instead of a machine producing this anti-gravity effect in the craft, all they found was a bizarre sigil carved into a clay-like substance within it. The sigil seemed to project gravity with no apparent counterforce. You know what I mean?
Makes you think. Is that from the X-Files? Is that
more or less? But
okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's. Well, guys, I mean, we've kept you long enough. Thank you. This has been great. I didn't expect to talk this much about psychedelics with you guys. So that was not on the docket. I don't normally keep a docket, but that was not in the discussion. But I think people are gonna love to hear that. So yeah, guys, make sure you're listening to the Good Old Boys. Support them on Patreon and live radio. It's a must listen. I mean, it's really a lot of people have podcasts where they talk about like a couple things, but you guys really hit the sometimes you got to go to like Tim Pool if you want like the current thing, because like Tim Pool runs like a news program, but I don't like Tim Pool. But like if you want like conservative-y news, those are the people that do it. But you guys do it. So if anybody's looking for that, make sure you guys go over there. And Fredo's awesome. Fredo's been on the show too, so he's a big part of that. So guys, do you guys have anything you want to plug? You obviously has an Abraham Lincoln deep dive coming up.
Good Old Boys with a Z on Patreon.
Good Old Boys with a Z. Well, that's good. All right, guys. Well, on that note, if you guys are coming in from Good Old Boys, we have a Substack. Cy writes about some of the stuff he talked about on there. He has a series called Bob's Red Pill. That's for free. Anybody on Substack? We are offering on our premium subscription, we're offering 20% off, and that's where all of our fiction episodes, all of our coast to coast kind of alien stuff is. That stuff is 20% off now if you sign up before Christmas. So that's a great deal. There's over 100 episodes in the archive there. So
we need a guest. Bog's Red Pill #1. We need
Bog's Red Pill. Yeah,
we just need
I would love that. I would love that. That would be sick, dude. So on that note, guys, everybody have a safe week. We'll catch you guys next time.